We human beings have taken over the whole planet, but now we must learn to share it, or else we will lose it. We have to outgrow tribalism, patriarchy, all our old ways, and we have to move fast because we're running out of time. This is not a riot. It's another business day at the Bombay Stock Exchange. The Tokyo Exchange is just closed and Frankfurt is about to open. Then it's London, Wall Street, and back to Tokyo. These days, business operates around the clock. None of these men know it, but on this day, there's a bomb ticking away in the basement of this building. In 45 minutes, it will explode, and some of them will die. There's a bomb ticking away under the whole world, too. It counts off the 2 million extra human beings each week and the $10 billion of added consumption every month. But we're luckier than these men. We still have a little time to defuse our bomb. When I first came here in 1963, this city was probably the largest concentration of human misery on Earth. People even came here to see the misery. They still do. Calcutta has become our standard all-purpose image of the hopelessness of the third world, or even of the future in general. That's why foreigners, and some Indians too, love to make films here. Great images. But it's really a bit more complicated than that. Calcutta was once the second richest city in the whole British Empire. Then it fell into great poverty. But it's not the eternal destiny of Indians to be poor, just as there's no natural law saying that people in the north will always be richer. In fact, there's a huge shift of wealth and power underway in the world right now. Looking back, you can now see a pattern in the last 40 years. In the mid-20th century, as the colonial empires collapsed, most of the third world tried to secede from the capitalist world economy. The free market, after all, was the system of the Western imperialists. India remained a democracy, but the government took over most of the economy. Some other countries went all the way and became communist dictatorships. But the result was the same. Growth rates fell further and further behind the market economies, and India stayed poor.
We were growing in the 70s and 80s at 2 and 3% per annum, what is called the Hindu rate of growth. 2.5% increase in gross domestic product, 2.25% increase in population, general misery all around.
Layer upon layer of controls and regulations was fastened onto India's economy. Foreign investors were tangled up in red tape, inefficient state-owned firms sucked in endless subsidies, and the private sector was regulated to its knees. A huge class of bureaucrats and officials flourished and multiplied, with predictable results. By the late 80s, India was effectively bankrupt, and to raise foreign loans, the government had to scrap the state controls.
I think it's a pity that liberalization has to be the last refuge of the discredited politician, but regrettably that is so. Until the mid-70s or early 80s, we thought, we are in this morass forever and forever. Our politicians promise us things, and things happen once in a while. Most of the times they don't happen. Now we know things do happen.
The state-controlled economy didn't just fail in India, it failed everywhere. It was a 40-year detour into good socialist principles and low growth, and now it's over. At the end of the 80s, the Chinese communists switched to a market economy. The old Soviet bloc just collapsed. And the free market is now at work in India, in Southeast Asia, in Latin America. Another 3 billion people are climbing onto the free market bandwagon, whether there's room or not.
We're clearly pushing things to the limit, although we don't quite know yet just where the limit is. But the developed world has no right to bar other people from taking the road it's already traveled itself. It couldn't even stop them if it tried. Some countries may lag behind, but 30 or 40 years from now, most of the human race will be consuming at an industrialized level. Once people can see what they might have, they won't stop until they get it.
And there's a whole industry that specializes in telling them they want it right now.
Give me red. 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 Give me red.
It's human nature to want things. That's what has shaped our civilization from the start. And you can still see it at work today, even in the remotest corners of the planet. The human race is an evolutionary experiment, and this is where the experiment went into high gear about 10,000 years ago, the agricultural village. We used to be like other wild animals, wandering around in small bands and making our living by hunting and gathering. But then we invented agriculture. And suddenly, there we were, living in permanent houses, controlling other animals, making the soil yield up plants. We changed our ways and reaped the rewards. Now we reshape the world to suit ourselves, and there are around 500 times as many of us as there were when we came in from the wild. But this new style of living had a high price. Most peasant farmers got barely enough grain to eat and practically no meat. Village life meant drudgery and poverty and narrow horizons for most people. Until recently. Punjivan Prajapat belongs to the potter's caste. In traditional India, that would have meant his sons would be potters too, and his daughters would marry potters. He and his wife Devaraven work 60 or 70-hour weeks to make ends meet. But their 13-year-old daughter, Geeta, will stay in school till she graduates. That would have been unheard of when her mother was a girl, but the village of Ashgabat is ceasing to be a traditional place. For Punjivan, the changes are not entirely good news. People who earn their living by making simple products for the village market are being squeezed out. Many villagers can afford to buy manufactured products nowadays. Often they prefer them. And it's not just necessities. People want to indulge their vanity a bit, have a little fun. There should be more to life than mere survival.
As Miss Piggy wisely remarked, less is not more is more. 20 years ago, hardly any Indian village had a shop in it. Now most do.
And what's in the shops is quite recognizable. Half the brands are familiar names that sit on shelves in dozens of other countries too. People talk about globalization. This is what it looks like in an Indian village. In a village like Ashgabat, of course, some bits of the global economy may arrive on top of an elephant. This is just like the medicine shows that used to tour North American villages a century ago. Hindustan Lever is the largest foreign-owned company in India, and every day it stages shows like this all over the country to sell soap.
The total market for the products which my company makes in this country is close to 3 million tons per annum. Now, to give you an idea of the scale of operations, let me give you one or two examples. Now, here is a tablet of a very popular bathing soap in India. This is called Lifebuoy. This is also made in some other parts of the world. But this is the most popular brand of toilet soap in India. It is the largest soap made in India. The volume is around 135,000 tons per annum. Next stage is going to be 150,000 tons. We are talking of a population of 900 million people. Now, this is almost 3.5 times the size of the population of a large country like the United States of America.
The World Bank chief economist said recently that when China and India enter the global market, the impact on the world economy will be as great as was the ending of the Cold War.
हिंदुस्तान लीगर लिमिटेड कंपनीची सुपर पॉवर रिन आपल्या कपड्याला चकाचक चमकवण्यासाठी सुपर पॉवर रिन लॉंग लाईट प्रिंटेड भाव आहे फक्त 4.5 रुपये हे पहा किंमत फक्त 4.5 रुपये आणि सोबत 2 काळीची पेटा बक्षीस घ्या तुमच्या गावचा राजेश त्यांचे शर्ट घेऊन दाखवतो ते पैसे सगळे काढून द्या.
Men don't do the washing in Ashgabat, but they do make the big decisions, like which soap to buy. The star at today's demonstration is Raju, the son of Punjivan the potter.